So we have Love. Love is the newest film by Gaspar Noé, always a favorite at the Cannes Film Festival, and one of cinema's most fascinating deviants. Filmmakers. Yes, definitely filmmakers. In his own words, Gaspar set out to make a sexual melodrama about a boy and a girl and another girl that will give guys erections and get girls wet. Wow, how ambitious. But all joking aside, the idea behind this film was quite admirable. In typical Gaspar Noé fashion, he wanted to push the boundaries of art film to the extreme, in this case making a movie featuring real emotional sex. Now the idea of having real unsimulated sex in a film isn't necessarily that it's something that hasn't been done before. Some films of this type have been more compelling than others, but it is always nice to see a filmmaker putting his own spin on the subject matter. I did have high hopes for this film, but there was one thing that kept me worried, and that was that I didn't want this film to just simply be an excuse to have real unsimulated sex in a motion picture other than something that's pornographic. I didn't want this to be just another case of style over substance, because no matter how striking the visual style of Gaspar's two previous films were, and they were excellent, I mean that in the best way possible, they never overshadowed the stories. The stories were always compelling, always grab your attention, always had some message to convey, and they offered something much more beyond just the visual style. And I really hoped he was going to be able to continue this excellent balancing act of making a film that's visually unlike anything you've ever seen before, but also having a very riveting story to its core. Well, throw that out the window, because apparently no fucks were given, pun intended actually, by Gaspar in actually writing an interesting film this time around. He even stated that the script for this film was only 7 pages long, and most of the dialogue was improvised. Now, in the case of some movies, that can actually work, it can actually turn into an advantage. Here, however, I thought it was a damn shame that they didn't develop this script a little bit further, because the film just simply has no pacing to it whatsoever. The film actually does start out strong. The plot is as simple as can be. We have a guy, he's in a relationship with a woman he does not love and is unhappy with, until one day he receives a distressing phone call that will take him on a trip down memory lane. He will start recalling a past relationship with a woman he was and actually might still be madly in love with, but a relationship that might have ended on more of a sad note. I guess visually we are treated to like usual Gaspar Noé-isms, but in a very refreshing way. We have very unusual camera angles, strange cuts, voiceovers, sequences that are presented to us in a non-chronological way, and a very dark tone. It is very captivating for a while, at least until you get past the first act. Basically, it's like the first half hour of the movie, and that's when the film grinds to a halt like a motherfucker. From then onwards, what seemed like an extremely large chunk of the movie, two things happen. Sex, lots and lots and lots and lots of sex, and self-referentiality. For you see, Gaspar Noé constantly feels the need to remind you of just how much of a cinema fan he is, and how much he loves the movies he loves, that he constantly feels the need to decorate this film with all of the other films that have inspired him and this film. I don't think normally I would have minded, neither the sex nor the self-referentiality. I only did because I felt it was just too much. In a movie that's 2.5 hours long, and when 75% of that movie is just that, it's too much and it's not even cleverly done. I mean, our main character is a filmmaker, clever, and he has posters and DVDs all around his room. And then that's basically it. It's not cleverly done. I think I could have understood it if it was more subtly done. Like, I don't know, maybe recreate a famous scene from a famous movie. Like, basically the whole reason behind Enter the Void was because Gaspar was inspired by that trippy scene from 2001: A Space Odyssey. And it worked like a charm. But then come the really embarrassing parts. And that's when he makes allusions to his own self. He even has characters in this film named after himself, and he also goes as far as actually playing a character in the film named after himself as well. I mean, that's just like... Don't get me wrong, I have nothing against self-referential humor, because these elements are obviously in the film for comedic effect, which Gaspar is actually no stranger to. He does inject a good joke every now and then into his otherwise very dark films, and most of the time they are justified and they work. Not the case here, however. I mean, look, I get it, Gaspar. You love 2001. I love it too. Can we just please move along and have something happen? Can we just please move the plot forward? I mean, you just mentioning it to me or showing me a poster of it doesn't mean it has any point in the movie. But I thought the acting was good, however, especially considering that only the guy is an actual actor. The two women, they weren't actresses before this movie. So it's not great, but it was decent enough for this kind of movie. They seemed comfortable enough on camera having sex to make you believe it, to make you feel engaged in it. Oh. The fact of the matter is that the director's previous two films actually seemed a lot more thought out, a lot more developed, to be actually about something and to have something to say. I mean, from what I can remember, Irreversible seemed to be about how revenge doesn't pay, and Enter the Void about making things right. I'm not really sure what this movie was supposed to be about. I mean, my interpretation would be that I guess the ones you love most in life are also the ones you hurt most in life. But I don't know, that message wasn't really exactly that clear, wasn't really that well developed. My main issue with this film is basically that. It seemed underdeveloped, discombobulated, and pretty much everything about it seemed like a gimmick. And don't even get me started on the 3D. I luckily saw it in 2D, but I know what those scenes that were supposed to be in 3D were. And man, the only thing I'm going to say about it is sperm. So that was my 2 cents, folks. I really didn't enjoy this movie. It's not terrible. You can watch it if you're curious. If you're a fan of the director, then especially. But it's like half and half. It's 50-50. Some things were good about it. Mostly the sex stuff was good, but everything else seemed just like gimmicky and useless and pointless and bleh. Thanks for watching as always, and I will see you later with other reviews. Goodbye, folks.